A lot has been made this year about people potentially lying to pollsters over issues like race. I was kind of surprised that the almost knee-jerk response to this was to reach back 25 years for an explanation. So let's talk about that 1982 gubernatorial election in California. A pre-election poll conducted by the Field Poll had Tom Bradley, then the mayor of Los Angeles, leading George Deukmejian, the Republican candidate for governor, by a good, reasonable margin. And on election day, Deukmejian beat Bradley by a point.
Ladies and gentlemen, George Deukmejian.
And thus was born the Bradley effect. A black candidate, Tom Bradley, was ahead in the polls, but lost on election day. What we don't know was whether there was last-minute change among voters, whether there was some campaign event that might have changed things, or whether, in fact, the Field Poll was an accurate representation of what voters were going to do then. There may have been some confirmation of this in 1989 when Doug Wilder ran for governor of Virginia, looked to have a healthy lead in some pre-election polls, won narrowly. And David Dinkins looked to have a healthy lead in New York City, running for mayor of New York City, and won narrowly.
Thank you very much. I intend to be the mayor of all the people of New York.
The thing is that there's been no indication of this pattern in races since the early 1990s. In 2006, Deval Patrick's pre-election poll margin in Massachusetts looked pretty much like it did on election day. Harold Ford was running behind before the election in Tennessee, lost by about the margin he was running behind. So, we've got no current evidence. Now, a lot can change between now and election day. There can be campaign events. People can be making up their minds late. But I don't think we're seeing the quote-unquote Bradley effect. Here's some differences. In the 1980s, we had issues like crime and welfare that were very racialized issues. We were within less than 20 years from the passage of the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act. We were closer to the urban riots of 1968. So these issues were very much in people's minds. These things are now 40 years in the past. And lots of voters don't even remember them. They weren't even alive. Barack Obama was a child during that period. So I think that you have to recognize that times have changed.